The morning Hiroto turned his key and swung the door open was the morning his sanctuary shattered.
Hi, neighbor.
This isn't real. She can't be here.
The door slammed shut with enough force to rattle the frame.
6 months. I moved across town. She tracked me again.
His fingers trembled as he dialed his sister's number.
May, tell me I am hallucinating. Ayaka just moved in next door.
I just checked online. The lease is real, Hiroto. She signed it 3 days ago. There's nothing we can do.
He pressed his eye to the cold peephole, stomach churning. Through the distorted lens, he watched the girl who once hid a tracker in his bag step into the apartment, across the hall, and the lock clicked with the sound of a cage closing. He didn't sleep. Every 10 minutes he pressed his eye to the cold glass, but the hallway remained a graveyard.
Empty. Always empty. But she's right there.
Morning came, and he pressed his ear to the door, listening for footsteps before even touching the handle. When he finally inched the door open, the hallway was pristine and silent. 4 boxes stacked neatly beside the door, and a fresh nameplate that read Ayaka in elegant kanji. She came and went with groceries, never once glancing at his door.
Is she ignoring me? Or is this part of the plan?
A week passed. Then 2. The silence began to feel less like a threat and more like nothing. But at night, with the lights off, he still checked the peephole 3 times before bed.
She's waiting. I know it.
Days passed, with nothing but the sound of her door closing softly. Hiroto started to wonder if he had overreacted.
Maybe she really moved on. Maybe I can finally breathe.
But when he came home that evening, something was wrong. The pile of unopened mail on his counter had been stacked into a perfect tower.
I didn't do this. Someone was here.
He checked the lock, pristine. The windows, sealed. No sign of forced entry anywhere. Even his desk had been subtly rearranged. Pens aligned, notepad squared to the corner.
It's her. It has to be. No one else has a reason.
That night, he pushed the sofa against the door and sat in the dark, staring at the dark, staring at the mail tower like it might move.
She wants me to know she can get in. She's playing with me.
Sleep didn't come. Every creak was a key turning, every shadow her silhouette. His potted plant glistened with fresh water. He hadn't touched it in a week.
I definitely didn't water this. They're getting bolder.
On the couch, the clothes he'd hung to dry on the balcony were folded into crisp, even squares.
This is a message. She wants me to know she can come and go as she pleases.
He plucked a single hair and laid it across the doorframe, a trap no ghost could avoid. The next morning, the hair was still there, unbroken, but his plant was even more watered, the soil dark and damp.
The door was locked. The hair didn't move. How is this possible?
He spent the afternoon tapping walls and checking vents, but the apartment was as solid as a vault.
I am either losing my mind, or she has a key I don't know about.
He pulled up the police number, thumb hovering over the call button. Then, with a frustrated exhale, he locked the screen.
What would I even say? My mail is tidy, and my plant is too healthy.
Instead, he called his sister for the 2nd time that month.
May, someone's been in my apartment. The mail, the laundry, everything. It has to be Ayaka.
Hiroto, you barely sleep these days. She hasn't even spoken to you. Maybe it's just stress.
Even May thinks I am losing it. Maybe I am.
He returned to the peephole, watching Ayaka leave for groceries. She carried a reusable bag and hummed a tune he didn't recognize.
How can someone who hums be stalking me? She looks fine, healthy.
Day after day, nothing happened. The trap remained set, yet small acts of care persisted. Guilt began to fester alongside the fear.
This has to stop. I'll confront her myself.
He took a deep breath, crossed the 2-meter hallway, and knocked 3 times. The door swung open to reveal Ayaka, her amethyst eyes widening with genuine surprise.
Have you been inside my apartment? The mail, the laundry. Someone's been in there, and I know it's you.
Her expression flickered, hurt. Then a sad calm settled over her features like a mask.
I would never enter your space without permission. I promised myself that after we broke up.
She sounded so certain, but I can't trust her. Not after the tracker.
He searched her face for a lie and found only an unsettling stillness, the kind that could hide anything.
Fine, but I am watching you closely now.
He turned away before she could respond, the slam of his own door punctuating his retreat and leaving her alone in the hall.
I'll set up a camera. She won't know, and I'll finally have the truth.
He bought a cheap motion-activated camera and wedged it between old textbooks, its lens aimed at the apartment door. He went about his routine, but every afternoon, he locked himself in his room and scrolled through hours of static footage. On the third day, a new file appeared. He clicked play, expecting Ayaka's silhouette, and was met with something far worse. The grainy footage showed a key turning his lock, and then May slipped inside, carrying a small watering can. She moved with the ease of someone who had done this 100 times, snipping dead leaves from his plant, refilling the moist soil.
My sister. All this time, my own sister.
She folded stray blankets and tidied his desk, her movements so familiar that his stomach twisted with a new kind of horror.
She lied to my face, told me I was stressed while she was the one playing caretaker.
He watched the rest in a daze. When the footage ended, his hands were trembling, but his decision was already made.
I am calling her right now, and she's going to tell me everything.
He didn't wait for her to finish work. His voice left no room for argument, only a cold command. Get here. Now, 20 minutes later, May stood frozen in his doorway, her face already crumbling at the sight of his laptop screen.
Explain this. My own sister, breaking into my apartment and lying to my face.
I am so sorry. I couldn't stand seeing you live like this.
She confessed to the watering, the laundry, the mail, the whole macabre pantomime of care that had haunted him for weeks.
How? You don't have a key. I never gave you one.
May fumbled in her pocket and held out a single key, trembling in her pale palm.
I've had it for months. I meant to give it back, but there's more you need to understand.
I trusted you more than anyone. What could possibly justify this?
It's about Ayaka. She's not who you think she is. Please, just let me explain. After you broke up, Ayaka was shattered. I couldn't just abandon her. I gave her my spare key for emergencies, but she never used it. She made me promise never to tell you because she knew you'd panic. The watering, the laundry, the mail, that was all me. I felt so guilty watching you fall apart.
Hiroto's white-knuckled fist slowly uncurled. The monster he'd been hunting had been a reflection of his own sister's guilt.
Ayaka didn't do this. She kept her promise. I accused her of something she didn't do.
I know I messed up, but Ayaka isn't the monster you think she is. She never stopped caring.
He wanted to scream, but the words lodged in his throat like shards of glass. The key still glinted in her trembling hand.
You made me think I was going insane. You let me believe she was still stalking me.
I am so sorry, but there's more you don't know. She's been getting help. Real professional help.
The key rested in her palm, but the real unlock was only beginning. Everything he believed was about to be turned inside out.
She went to therapy 3 times a week. 6 months, Hiroto. She worked harder than anyone I've ever seen. She moved next door to prove she could respect your space. No pushing, no contact unless you wanted it.
She threw the GPS tracker into Tokyo Bay. I was there. She said she wanted to drown the old Ayaka. Hiroto's breathing stopped. The walls he'd built around his paranoia crumbled into dust. Memories of their breakup rewound in his mind. Her trembling hands, his cold exit, a door slammed on her tears.
She never stopped loving you, but she learned to let you go. Please, just think about it.
May left the spare key on the coffee table and slipped out, the click of the door echoing like a final verdict. On her shelf sat a book titled Rebuilding Trust. He had never even asked what she was reading.
I made her the villain, but all this time, the real monster was my own fear.
And for the first time in months, the silence in his apartment wasn't threatening. It was just empty. Past midnight, Hiroto found his hand on the door handle, drawn by a pull he couldn't name.
What am I even looking for? Proof of a monster that doesn't exist.
Her door was propped open a few inches, and there she sat, cross-legged on the floor, bathed in warm lamplight, a book in her lap. The title caught the light. Rebuilding Trust. Her face was calm, unguarded, no manic smile, no pinprick pupils, just a woman lost in words.
That's not the girl I broke up with. That's someone who learned to breathe without me.
He eased the door shut, the click catching in his throat like a swallowed confession.
I turned her into a monster so I wouldn't have to face how badly I hurt her.
He stayed there until her light flickered out, the darkness no longer a threat, just a mirror.
She rebuilt herself from ashes. Maybe I should learn how to light a match.
Sleep stayed away, but the shadows didn't threaten. They painted old memories in a gentler light. In high school, Ayaka clung to him like he was the last lifeboat after her father abandoned the family. The GPS tracker hadn't been a leash. It was a desperate anchor from a girl drowning in abandonment. The breakup replayed, his scalpel words, her collapsing into herself. He'd severed her last rope and called it freedom.
She wasn't a monster. She was a wounded animal, and I kept kicking. She did 6 months of work. I've done 6 months of running.
He didn't barricade the door that night. He left it unlocked, a quiet surrender.
If she can rebuild from ashes, I can learn to stop running from ghosts. Next time I see her, I'll just say hello. No flinching, no silence, just hello.
The hallway remained silent, but now he listened not with dread, with the faintest, most fragile hope. He pressed his ear to the thin wood, heart hammering, waiting for the familiar sound of her lock, clicking free. When it came, he swung his door open, in perfect sync, their timing so precise it felt like fate's second chance.
Oh, hello, Ayaka. Nice weather today.
Yes, it's lovely. Have a good day.
She gave a soft smile, then turned toward the stairs without a backward glance, her footsteps steady and light.
That was it? No questions, no lingering gaze. Just polite distance. She really is respecting my space.
He remained motionless, the faint scent of her jasmine shampoo still in the air, a question he wasn't ready to ask. He slipped inside, shut the door, and leaned his forehead against it. His reflection in the eye hole looked less like a prisoner.
She kept her distance. She actually kept her promise.
For the first time since she moved in, Hiroto understood the cage wasn't hers. It was his own, and he had just found the key. That night, sleep dragged him into the old nightmare, the Ayaka he'd buried 6 months ago.
Don't leave me, Hiroto. I'll die without you.
Her eyes were pinpricks of violet, her hands reaching through the dark, nails sharp with a love that cut. He jolted upright, gasping into the silent room, his sheets twisted around his legs like a straitjacket.
It's just a dream. She's not that person anymore. Breathe. That was the old Ayaka, the one who drowned in Tokyo Bay. She's gone.
He replayed the morning, her soft smile, the jasmine scent, the distance she gave him without asking.
She kept her promise. Now, I need to keep one to myself.
He flicked on the desk lamp and wrote a single sentence on a torn sheet of paper.
Invite her for coffee. Public. Safe. It was terrifying, but it was a start.
The next afternoon, Hiroto found a bench in the small park near campus. May was already waiting, her eyes red-rimmed and hesitant.
I am sorry I yelled. You were trying to help in the only way you knew how.
I was so stupid. I just wanted to fix everything.
She pulled a worn notebook from her bag, the therapy workbook. Ayaka had filled with careful notes on boundaries, pages of handwritten reflections, dates of sessions, a section titled Respecting Hiroto's Space, marked with sticky tabs.
She never once asked me to spy on you. She just wanted to be close, in case you ever wanted to talk.
Not a single crossed line. She didn't even peek. That was all May's guilt.
He closed the book and felt the last shard of paranoia dissolve in his chest.
Thank you for showing me this. I needed to see it.
They sat in silence as the sun dipped low. For the first time, Hiroto wasn't running. He was planning his next step. Back in his silent apartment, Hiroto sat at his desk and stared at a blank sheet of paper. The words wouldn't come. He scribbled an opening line, then another, crossing each one out until the paper was a battlefield of false starts. He pushed away from the desk and stood before the mirror, staring at the stranger who had barricaded his own life.
I want to thank you for giving me space. That's all I have to say. Number, too formal. She'll think I am still scared. Okay, simple, honest. Just thank her and see where it goes.
He put on a clean shirt, ran a hand through his messy hair, and opened his apartment door before he could change his mind. The hallway stretched before him like a bridge he had burned 6 months ago. Now, he was rebuilding it. 3 steps, each one quieter than his racing heart. His fist hovered over Ayaka's door. He didn't knock, not yet. He just breathed, counting the seconds until courage caught up. 3 seconds passed before he trusted his knuckles to the wood. The knock was soft, but it echoed louder than a scream. Ayaka pulled the door open, her amethyst eyes already glistening, not from tears but from the fragile hope he'd once called weakness.
I know about the therapy. May told me. And I wanted to say, thank you for not pushing me.
Behind her on the armrest lay rebuilding trust, dog-eared and marked with sticky tabs. She'd been rewriting herself page by page. A single tear carved a silver line down her cheek. She didn't wipe it away.
You are welcome.
Would you want to get coffee sometime? Public. Neutral. Like strangers starting over.
She nodded, a choked laugh escaping with her breath. The corner cafe. Saturday morning, he nodded. And for the first time, the 2 meters between their doors felt like not enough. They set the time. Saturday, 10 a.m. A beginning, not an ending. Ayaka nodded, and her lips curved into the first unguarded smile Hiroto had seen since the day they broke up. Warm, crooked, and entirely real.
That smile was never meant to trap me. It was just happy. I'd forgotten what that looked like.
The moment her lock clicked into place, Ayaka let her knees buckle and slid to the floor, a single sob breaking past her fingers. Across the hall, Hiroto leaned into his sofa, the worn fabric suddenly feeling like a place he wanted to stay.
I asked Ayaka out, and the world didn't end.
Saturday morning painted the corner cafe in honey gold light, its outdoor chairs already filling with quiet conversations. Inside, a table by the window held 2 empty chairs, a small vase of daisies, and the weight of a second chance. Back in the hallway, 2 doors remained closed, but the silence between them had changed. It was no longer a border, but a beginning.
Tomorrow at 10, just coffee. Just talking, just breathing the same air again.
And for the first time since she moved in, Hiroto looked forward to opening his door. They met at the cafe's door at the same time. 2 strangers with 6 years of history colliding in the autumn air, once seated. Silence stretched like a wire. Hiroto's fingers tapped the table. Ayaka's traced the rim of her cup. The latte art had dissolved, but neither had taken a sip. Every word felt too heavy or too light.
Your hair's longer. It suits you.
You seem lighter, happier. May told me about the tracker, that you threw it away.
She described the cold metal in her palm, the arc it made, and the final, freeing splash into Tokyo Bay.
It was never about controlling you. It was about my own terror of being alone. I know that now.
I was so scared I never let myself understand. I am sorry.
The caffeine grew cold, but the silence that followed was comfortable, the first they'd shared in years. Then Ayaka set her cup down with a soft clink. Something in her posture shifted, like the room had opened its windows.
I never stopped loving you, but I realized if I kept chasing, I'd hate myself forever. So I started therapy.
I was unfair. I made you the villain to protect myself. Can we just leave all that behind?
He extended his hand not to touch, but as an offering, a blank page hovering between them.
Hi, I am Hiroto. Nice to meet you.
I am Ayaka. Nice to meet you too.
The cafe noise faded. For a moment, they were the only two people in the world, rewriting their first chapter.
She's really here, and so am I.
They didn't shake hands. He drew his back, but the offer remained, a promise to start from zero that Saturday. They didn't fall in love again. They planted a seed, and for the first time, both were willing to water it. The walk home was sunlit and silent, their footsteps falling into a rhythm they hadn't shared in years. Every step felt like a small victory, every breath a quiet celebration. They didn't hold hands, but the space between them was no longer a cage. It was just breath, light and easy, and it didn't hurt anymore. At their doors, they paused. The 2-meter hallway that once felt like a battlefield now felt like a battlefield, now felt like a bridge they had both decided to cross.
Thank you for today, Ayaka.
She met his eyes, the amethyst catching the hallway light, warm and unafraid.
Thank you, Hiroto.
Maybe we could do this again sometime. Same place, same time.
I'd like that. Very much.
They each closed their doors, then leaned their foreheads against the cool wood, identical small smiles blooming in the silence. Outside, 2 windows lit the evening quiet, side by side. Alone in his apartment, Hiroto let the silence settle around him like a worn blanket. For once, it didn't suffocate. He filled a cup with water and tipped it into the soil himself, not out of fear, but care. The plant was just a plant again. He shuffled through the scattered mail on his counter. Bills and flyers. Ordinary things. No secrets, no threats. Just life. He folded a sweater, left on the couch, not because someone else would, but because he wanted order in his own space.
This is just an apartment now, and that's exactly what I needed.
By the time he lay down, the moon had risen outside his window, casting silver lines across the ceiling. His phone buzzed, a calendar reminder for next Saturday, 10 a.m. He smiled and didn't cancel it. The rooms around him held no ghosts, just the quiet evidence of a life being lived, finally, without barricades. And so the yandere X moved into the apartment next door. And in the end, that was exactly what he needed. Because sometimes, the scariest person you can face is the one who loved you enough to let you go.